Greetings wherever you are watching from. Welcome once again to my channel. This is the Econs and Business Guru. Yet again, we are looking at a very important topic, inflation, which is one of the main problems most, if not every society in the world is facing. Don't scroll. Hold on. Why do you feel like your money is shrinking, even when your salary stays the same? If you feel like the prices are rising, you are right. But by how much? Let me tell you. Do you know that the coffee you buy every day is secretly more expensive than it used to be, even when the price tag has not changed? Don't go anywhere. Stay with me. Let's dive in and understand how inflation can impact our daily life, how inflation is impacting our expenses. This is a survey that we are going to use to dissect this topic today. This table shows the prices for different items in Bahrain in 2024, 2025, and 2026. A loaf of bread quantity is here, and then we have the prices for the different years. Now, in order for us to calculate inflation, we must calculate the cost for each basket of good or item, and then we calculate the consumer price index before we can calculate the inflation rate. But what is actually inflation? This is a term that we hear every day, but most people still don't understand what inflation is. Inflation simply means that prices of our goods and services are increasing persistently, either on a daily basis, or weekly basis, or monthly basis, or annual basis. But one thing is that the prices are increasing persistently. That is what we call inflation. My granddad will tell me that a can of Pepsi he used to buy for 20 fuels. But today, how much do we buy it? A bottle of Coca-Cola was bought for barely 200 francs CFA. How much is it sold for today? That is inflation in practice. Now, what causes inflation? There are two key causes of inflation. One is cost push. This is the first cause of inflation. When the cost of production increases, producers, manufacturers are forced to increase the prices of these goods and services because they need to recover the cost and make profit. That is why the prices are increasing. So if the cost of production, that is the cost for raw materials, for example, rents, labor, is increasing, then definitely prices will be increasing with time. What is the other cause of inflation? Demand pull. Demand is another cause of inflation. When there is an increase in aggregate demand or in total demand for goods and services in an economy, it forces manufacturer producers to increase the price for this product. Why? Because if there is increase in demand, it may create or cause shortage in the market. And producers or manufacturers will take advantage of this situation to increase prices. All of this may result from the increase in supply of money in the economy. If the government decides that it's time for us to increase the supply of money, people have access to money, so they just want to spend. And that is how demand is going to increase. So these are the two key reasons or causes of inflation in every part of the world. These are the two key causes of inflation in every part of the world. Now, let's go back to our table and try to see how we can solve this. First, we must multiply to get the total amount for each item that we have in our survey here. We have bread, milk, rice, fuel, and electricity. So we start with bread. They said in 2024, the price for bread, for a loaf of bread, is 50 fils. So we are going to multiply these 50 fils by the 100 loaves of bread that we have here. So if we take 50 fils by 100 loaves of bread, this will give us 50. Now, if we take 1.2 times 80, this should give us 96. If we take 1 multiply by 60 here, this should give us 60. And then if we take 30 here, 0.30 I mean, multiply by 200, this should give us 60. Now, if we take 0.10 multiply by 500, if we do this, it should give us 50. Now, this is the total price for this quantity of items for the year 2024. Now, we are going to try to calculate all of this amount to see what we are going to get. This will give us 146 and 206, 266, and 316. So here we have 316 as our total amount. This is 316 that we have here as our total amount for the total cost for this quantity of items for the year 2024. Now, let us go on to calculate for 2025 and 2026.
I'm here to be an anchor, your support system, and your touch the light in the dark to help you prepare for your exams. Whether you're taking the advanced level, international bakery day advance placement IGCSE ordinary level, or you're just a curious individual that likes to know how the business world functions, or how the economies in the world.
Okay, this is how we calculate our cost of baskets so that we can get the total cost of baskets for each year. So now we have the cost of basket for 2024, 2025, and 2026. 2026 so far. Now, the consumer price index. This is what we use to calculate our inflation rate. Now, the big question is, what is the consumer price index? The consumer price index is a measure of the changes in the prices of goods and services in our daily life. It gives us a measure of how much the prices of goods and services that we buy daily has changed. That is the consumer price index. Now, how do we calculate the consumer price index? The consumer price index, which is the CPI, is calculated as the baskets of current year divided by baskets of base year multiplied by 100. This is how we calculate our consumer price index. Now, let's start with 2024. In this case, our basket of this current year is 316. So, we are going to divide it by the basket of the base year. The base year is also 2024. The base year is the initial year in your survey to calculate your consumer price index, the beginning year. In this case, 2024 is our base year. Therefore, we take 316 divided by 316 times 100. This will give us 100. Are you with me? This will give us 100. So our first consumer price index here is 100. Now, let's go to the next year. The next year, the basket of the current year, 2025, is 384 divided by the base year, which is 316 times 100. Here we'll have 384 divided by 316 times 100. This is equal to 121.52. $121.52. That is how we calculate our consumer price index for the second year. Now, we go to the next year. For the next year, we have 421 divided by 316 times 100. If we do this, our answer is 133.23. 133.23. This is our consumer price index for the various years from 2024 to 2026. Now, we want to know what the inflation rate is over these years. Now, the next thing is for us to calculate the inflation rate. How can we calculate the inflation rate? The inflation rate is equal to the consumer price index of the current year minus the consumer price index of the previous year divided by the consumer price index of the previous year times 100. This is how we calculate our inflation rate. This is how we calculate our inflation rate. So, in this case, we cannot calculate the inflation rate for 2024 because we do not know what the CPI or the Consumer Price Index is for 2023. So, since we do not know the Consumer Price Index of 2023, we are unable to calculate the inflation rate of 2024. But we are able to calculate the inflation rate of 2025. How do we calculate the inflation rate for 2025? We follow our formula. Our current year is 2025. What is the CPI? 121.52 minus the previous year, 2024. That's, we have 100 divided by the previous year, which is 100, and then times 100. This is how we can calculate our consumer price index, for our inflation rate for 2025. So in this case, we have our inflation rate for this year is 21.52. 21.52. So we have 21.52%. Note that inflation rate is expressed as a percentage. Inflation rate is expressed as a percentage. So now it is your turn to calculate the inflation rate for 2026. Calculate and give me your answer. Quickly, please. Did you get an answer? My answer says 9.6% for 2026. That is 9.6%. That is my inflation rate for 2026. Now that we have seen how we can calculate our inflation rate, our consumer price index, a key question is, how does inflation affect our daily lives? What are the consequences of inflation? The first thing is that it reduces your purchasing power. That's the first thing. It reduces our purchasing power. What's your 1 BD, your 1,000 francs can buy 2 years ago, it can no longer buy it today. It has reduced our purchasing power. It has shrunk the value of our money. Secondly, it reduces the value of our savings. It reduces the value of our savings. You save money today, in the next 3-4 years, you go to get that same money, say 500,000 francs. That money will not have the same value again after 5 years. It has lost its value. That means what it used to buy, what it could buy, what it could command, it can no longer command. because it has lost its value. It creates uncertainty. It creates uncertainty in the economy. We are unsure whether the economy is at a peak period, a slump period, or trough, or an expansionary phase, or a depression phase. It creates uncertainty. You don't know when to invest, when to save your money. That is the uncertainty it creates. Now, another thing is it makes lenders to lose, and it makes borrowers to gain. How is that? Because if I loan 1,000 francs to someone today and the person needs to come pay me back this money in 6 months, the money has lost its value. I've lost because what that money could buy, the 1,000 francs could buy, or the 1 BD or 5 BD could buy 4 months ago, it can no longer buy it. It has lost its value. So this is all you need to know about inflation. If there are other consequences of inflation that I have left out, I have omitted, please don't forget to drop them in the comment section. We are all open to learning. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so that you are notified when the next video comes up.